Hello everyone, my name is Sam Brooks and I'm a 17-year-old student from the small village of Top McConnell in South Roscommon, and I am here to give an insight into the Irish public transportation system and how it has affected my life for better and for worse. Successive governments have time and time again failed Ireland's rural communities. Take my own village as an example. Growing up, there were constant cuts to public services. These cuts have been persistent for decades now, particularly in the area of public transport. First, the train station was decommissioned, then they reduced the number of bus connections, and then they cut the bus route entirely. This has particularly impacted young people such as myself, both from my village and from many villages stretching from Galway to Dublin. Growing up, public transport played a vital role in my development. Some of my earliest memories involved travelling with my granny to Dublin to visit my aunt. This was invaluable, as it was the only time I got to see her, and they remain some of my most vivid memories from when I was younger. The bus facilitated these visits, and the countless memories I have gained as a result, whether it was seeing the Gaiety Panto or visiting museums. Is it really such a far-fetched notion that our government should implement protections for these vital intercity routes instead of stepping aside and letting them be cut? As I grew older, I began to use the bus to travel to Galway with friends. Growing up in a rural village, there was not an awful lot to do unless you were a member of the local GAA club. Thus, it was incredibly freeing to be able to travel on the bus, as it was, I'm sure, for many more young people situated in rural communities along that route. So when I heard that Bus Éireann Route 20, the route that served local communities from Dublin to Galway, had been cancelled, I was angry. We weren't told why, but the impact has been huge. Many communities served by Route 20 had just lost their only mode of transport from Dublin to Galway. Our government had failed rural communities again. For myself and many others, the bus was the only cheap and accessible mode of transport. It is especially important for young people, as over 1/3 of those aged 24 and under use the bus at least 5 times per week. Local communities deserve buses linking them to big local towns and train stations. Over COVID, I got more involved in organisations such as the Irish Second Level Students' Union. This meant I had to consider how I was now going to attend these meetings in Dublin and around Ireland without bus. Thankfully, train fares were cut, which was a massive step in the right direction, but the train station is still a 20-minute drive from my home. Despite this, I managed to attend these meetings, and I've now formed new memories, not unlike the ones I made when I was younger. I've travelled to Dublin to speak at the Seanad and to open days around Ireland in preparation for college next year. These experiences have helped shape who I am today, and they simply would not have happened without public transport. However, the frequency and price of train services is not the only issue. We also need to consider how few trains we actually have in Ireland. Next year, I will be heading off to college, which is an already stressful time in a young person's life, even putting aside the ongoing accommodation crisis. One of my choices is the University of Limerick. However, if I am unable to get accommodation, I would face commutes of over 3 hours. For me, driving isn't even an option, as I will be starting college aged 17 before I can get my full driving licence. So what am I and many young people like me supposed to do? People should not be limited by the meagre amount of destinations currently offered by public transport in Ireland. Take proposals such as the Western Rail Corridor, which by some estimates would see nearly 1 million passengers a year, or the Athlone to Mullingar rail link, which would be invaluable in carrying students from Mullingar to Moate to cities like Galway and towns like Athlone, and vice versa. It's high time proposals like these were taken seriously by our government. At the end of the day, public transport is about so much more than the journey from A to B. I myself would not be the person I am today without public transport. So if I was Taoiseach for the day, I would aim to deliver cheap or even free public transit fares. I would create an expanded bus network linking every local community in Ireland with the rest of the country. And I would increase the frequency of our train and expand Ireland's dismal railway network. I understand that these are ambitious goals, but if it enables a student to be able to access their dream course in college, or if it provides one child with an experience they otherwise wouldn't be able to do, then surely it would all be worth it. Thank you.